Hi, Skills Champions. Welcome to our first Skills on the Hill for 2023. I'm Katie Spiker, Managing Director of Government Affairs, and I'm joined by a face that's probably familiar to most folks, our CEO, Andy Van Kleunen, to talk about the State of the Union. Hi, Andy.
Katie, how are you doing?
I'm good, and with our time, let's jump right into a couple questions.
Okay.
The president's about to deliver his State of the Union speech. What do you hope to see and hear him talk about?
Well, we certainly know that the president's going to be pretty proud about the current state of the economy. He got some very good economic numbers last week. We created over 500,000 jobs in the month of January, well beyond what analysts had expected. Lowest unemployment level in decades, even an uptick in the labor participation rate. So those things are all very encouraging. We know he's going to be talking about that. But we do have an ongoing challenge that he's going to face as well. The Labor Department also told us last week that we have 11 million jobs going unfilled. It's the highest number that we've ever had in recent times. And that's something that we hope that the president is going to be talking about. We certainly know, based on how he's been spending his time leading up to the speech, to the State of the Union, that he's going to try to bring a lot of attention to the investments that we've been already making through the bipartisan infrastructure law and what we're anticipating to be making through the Inflation Reduction Act to create good jobs in the building trades, in utilities, in manufacturing, in transportation and transit, and clean energy overall. And so that's going to be great news. He's going to take a lot of credit for that, and he should. The challenge is that if we already have a lot of good jobs going unfilled, we're going to have even more good jobs that are going to be created through these federal investments. So I'm hoping that we really get to hear what the president's plan is for training people to be part of those future workforces, and particularly for workers of color and women and people living in the neighborhoods where these federal investments are going to be made, so that they can be part of both the rebuilding of their communities and bringing those industries into the future.
I think many of the people listening today would agree with that. So what are the policy solutions that we could hear from the president that would support the workers and the businesses that you just named?
Well, no matter what the example is, it's quite frankly here earlier at the end of last week. I'm talking to you from Philadelphia today, as you know, and the president was just by here to announce a $500 million investment in the replacement of about 30 miles of lead pipes and sewer mains and other things that's going to make our water cleaner, but also is going to be creating a lot of jobs here in Philadelphia. And I know that planners here in Philadelphia and city government recognize that we have a workforce challenge in terms of where it is that we're going to move folks into those jobs. So I want to make sure that we're making it easier for folks in Philly, as well as in cities and states around the country, to be able to train people for the jobs that are going to be created. So what I want to hear from the president is, one, this is something that the administration has been talking about quite a bit. We have a lot of money that was pushed down to the state and local level through recovery pieces of legislation like the American Rescue Plan. We have $25 billion currently, according to the Center on Budget and Policy Practices, sitting in the states that is not being spent yet. So I want to hear the president really encourage states to start to invest now in the training of people, to start to get them ready for when those infrastructure jobs start to come online. And I also want to find out what else the president's got planned at the federal level as well. So he's going to have to put a budget together after his State of the Union and present it to Congress. I hope we get a full funding for the workforce development system. I hope we get new investments in apprenticeship and pre-apprenticeship to make it easier for folks to diversify some of those apprenticeship ranks, particularly in the building and construction trades. I'm hoping to hear new support from the president for things like making Pell Grants more flexible so that community colleges can be part of the rebuilding and infrastructure strategy that we're seeing in local communities. So I think there's still some things that we can do at the federal level, but probably most importantly, I want to see what pressure the president is going to be putting on state and local policymakers to use the dollars that they already have to start training local folks for the jobs that we're creating. And I hope to hear that not just from the speech, but in what I'm assuming will be a series of site visits that he's going to be doing in the weeks after the State of the Union.
Thanks, Andy. And to your point about how the work on this issue will continue, I hope that folks will join us as we listen to the speech to evaluate how these priorities show up on social media, and for a chance to advocate on these issues with both the administration and Congress. I hope folks will register for our Skills Summit this May 1st through 3rd in Washington, D.C. You can find a link to register below.